you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I have to tell you this. This is why our country doesn't work. You understand? So we have thousands of people in a room next door. We have plenty of space here. We have thousands of people outside trying to get in. And we have a fire marshal that said, oh, we can't allow more people. It really is so unfair to the people. I'm so sorry, and I have to apologize, but it's not my fault. I just came here. But we have thousands of beautiful, wonderful, great people outside, and we have in the room next door over 1,000 people. They won't let them in. And the reason they won't let them in is because they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why, okay? Too bad. That's why our country has problems. Hey, maybe they're a Hillary person. Could that be possible? Probably. I don't think there are too many of them. Anyway, they set up a screen in the other room. They set up something outside. But what a disgraceful situation. So, but you people can't be complaining, right? You can't be complaining. All right. So much to straighten out in this country. This is the kind of thing we have in federal government also, by the way, folks, you know. And then you wonder why we're going to hell. That's why we're going to hell. It's a thought. You know what it is? It's a thought process, right? So I watched last night. I watched Hillary Clinton. What a sad situation. And by the way, they're going to let some of these people, I just was informed, they're going to let some of them meander in. Too bad. But I watched her last night giving a speech that was so average. And I watched last night as the network said, it was all right, it was good, they were fine. And then I watched this morning. It was unbelievable. It was so wonderful. It wasn't wonderful, folks. And then I read the report that just came out. I can't believe it. In Politico, I can't believe that. And they wrote something, all cliches, all just written up by a scriptwriter. And it was all cliches. You know, they used a little tweet one on me about tweet. And she said something about the campaign. Donald Trump doesn't know how to campaign, something like that. I just beat 16 people, and I'm beating her. You know? No, thank you. I'm watching it. Oh, and by the way, this is very important. So the Nielsen ratings just came out. These aren't polls. These are for television, much more important than polls. You know, television, these guys don't care about they don't care about polls. They only care about ratings. And the Nielsen ratings just came out. So it's Trump against Clinton, right? And, you know, you heard about how wonderful, because I'll tell you what, I liked the Republican convention better. I did. I liked it better. I thought we had a far more beautiful set, like not even a contest. How about the first night? They had no American flags up on the stage. Second night, no American flags. And then I started saying, there are no American flags up there. And then they run up with a flag, right? And then last night, they put so many flags. You know, it's called overkill. It's called incompetence. They put so many flags up there, you didn't know what to do. But let me just tell you. So, Thursday to Thursday, that's the big one, right? Thursday. We beat her by millions on television. By millions. We beat her by a lot. And they both did good. Really, we beat her by a lot. But honestly, the numbers were incredible. Which tells you Isn't it good to have Trump running for the presidency? Now, let me ask you. So we beat her. And I think you tuned in out of curiosity with her. Most people of you, I was actually more curious. I was curious to see whether she'd do a class act and not mention my name, or mention it with respect. Like say, I'd like to congratulate my Republican opponent for having done something that nobody has ever done in the history of politics in this nation. And I would like to congratulate my opponent for having gotten more votes than anybody in the history of the Republican Party in the primary system. See, I thought she might do something like that. I thought she'd give me a big, fat, beautiful congratulations. You know, if she did that, would that have been cool? Would that have been great? I thought her daughter did very well, by the way, Chelsea. I thought she did very well. And my daughter likes Chelsea, and Chelsea likes my daughter. What are you going to do? That's the way it is, right? That's okay. That's okay. My daughter likes Chelsea. Ivanka did great, right? Ivanka did great. But I asked Ivanka, I said, do you like Chelsea? I do, Dad. Really? No, I really do. I wish you didn't. It would be a lot easier, right? No, but they like it. And Chelsea likes Ivanka. And so I think that's nice. And that's the way life is, and that's the way life should be, right? Don't we agree? It's okay. It's okay. But I had an amazing time. And I watched last night as different people spoke. Much of it was scripted. I see some people, you know what was funny? I said yesterday at one of the rallies, with these massive rallies, honestly, much bigger than this, but not much bigger if you let all the other thousands in, but much bigger. This is like an intimate gathering. It's true. It's true. But I said to some of the people, look at that. And then yesterday at the rally, I said, boy, because I had some people up there that I knew, and I actually saw their names. And I said, well, why would they put them up? They're going to speak so positively about me. I was wrong. And I said, oh, I'm going to hit them. I'm going to get them. Am I going to get them? I'm going to start talking about them like you never believed. I'm going to hit them. Now, obviously, I'm talking about with my verbal. Said, I'm going to get them. I'm going to let them have it. Maybe a tweet or maybe this or that. But I'm going to hit them hard. So, I'm going to hit them hard. So on CNN this morning, I see, on the bottom, Trump says he's going to hit speakers. I mean, they are so dishonest. I'm going to hit speakers. Ay, ay, ay. That's why we have to win, right? That's why we have to win. I'll tell you, CNN is really, they call it the Clinton News Network. It's really a dishonest group of people. They are terrible. Oh, their camera just went off. I see the red lights. I know all the cameramen by now, right? Hi, fellas. But I see the red lights. That red light just went off so fast. It was funny. We were having fun yesterday. I said, they said really bad things. I'm going to hit them. I'm going to hit them hard. We're going to get them. And in fact, I even called up a friend of mine, a governor called up. He actually called me. He said, you're doing great, fantastic. And I talked about the thing. He said, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't say anything bad about anybody. Don't talk. I told them the story yesterday. And then they put Trump to hit, because at some point I said, I'm going to hit them. I'm going to hit them hard. I mean verbally, right? Does everybody understand? Headline, Trump threatens, right? I don't know if they said that, but it is really. I'll tell you, CNN is so dishonest. It's actually disgusting. You want to know the truth. So I love, isn't it better when we don't have these teleprompters, right? Right? I watch Hillary. No matter where she goes, she's got teleprompters. And I like using teleprompters. They're really good. But you know, honestly, when you do these things, wouldn't it be bad if I'm standing here like this and I'm going, ladies and gentlemen of Colorado, welcome. Oh, lift that teleprompter a little bit, please. Welcome. Wouldn't it be nice if she would actually get up and just talk to the crowd? It'd be real. And she had a speech this morning, and they're reading teleprompters. You know, if she has a group of 12 people, she's got teleprompters in front. And then she doesn't do news conferences. She hasn't done one in 237 days, something like that. She hasn't done a news conference in something like 237 days. And honestly, the reason is you couldn't do a news conference because they'll ask her about all the different things that she's done. They'll ask her about the FBI saying she's a liar. They'll ask her about all of the emails that she deleted or erased or got rid of. 33,000 emails. You know, the ones that were done for her yoga class, right? Yoga. The ones that were done for the wedding. 33,000. I've done a lot of weddings. I haven't said 33,000. I mean, how stupid is everybody? How stupid are we to hear this? 33,000 emails for the yoga. Yoga and a wedding, and they were personal. I'll bet you in this room we have people that probably... I'm not a big email person. You know why? I'm intelligent. I know about email. I'm not a big... I don't like email. You know what I like? I like the old days. I like the days because today they just announced somebody else was hacked and another group was hacked. Everybody's being hacked, okay? They have no idea who's doing it. These things are amazing. You know, the kids growing up, I have a young boy, Barron. He's very smart, but he's using the computer so much. We put it on lock, right? No way he can find out. I mean, I don't know what happened. So we go back about an hour later, and he's playing with the computer. We had it on lock. And we said, wait a minute. We had it on lock. You needed a sequential number. And we said, Barron, how did you do that? I'm not telling you, Dad. No, these kids are genius. And it's getting worse and worse because they live with it. You know, I grew up and it was a certain age they started. Now they live with it. It's like their right arm. They can do it so well. And I like the old days, especially for the military and things like that, right? You want to attack. Or you want to do something. It's called courier. It's called, let's put it in a thing, put it in an envelope, and let's hand it to the general. Let's not send it over the wires so everybody's probably reading it, right? And no matter how good they say it is, people can hack it, I guess. I mean, it's just terrible. And, you know, if you talk about military and you talk about all these secrets, and you even talk about politics, and you talk about all of this stuff. It's very confidential stuff. And then you find out the hacking is all over the place. I hear China is brutal. They say Russia is excellent. And you have guys sitting in their home that are very good. You have people, men and women, sitting in their homes that are better than the people that are the inventors. And I don't know, there's something about, you know, General Douglas MacArthur, right? They'd have a guy come. He'd say, sir, here it is. That's it. The risk is from there to there. General George Patton. I guarantee you, General George Patton, who was rough as hell, he wouldn't be doing emails when he's going to be ready to attack. If he were around, he'd say, I don't like that system at all. So, thank you, darling. I love you. I love you. I love you, and I think it's a guy. I mean, I don't know. Who the hell cares? Thank you. Oh, no, it's not. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I see you. I like that much better. I appreciate that. So, thank you, honey. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, the thousands of people on the other side that the fire marshals aren't being very nice to, they don't love me so much right now, okay? But that's okay. And we're going to come over and see them when this is finished. Should I do that, or should I stay with you longer? Let's go over, right? We'll come over. We're going to come over. We're going to come over. So, a lot of things happen. And I found last night interesting because we're going to get a lot of Bernie supporters, I think. And And Bernie made a big mistake. The mistake he made, and this is the beauty of doing speeches like this, because it was late in the night and I saw it, and she was thanking Bernie and talking about Bernie, and he's sitting there like glum. Did you notice that? No smile. His wife pats him on the back, and she pulled her hand away. Whoa. Whoa. Did you see that? A pat on the back. Darling, I love you. And pulls it back, and she was a little bit concerned there. But he was angry. And then a second time they showed him, and he was angry. And you know what? Honestly, he made a big mistake. Because we have the best movement of all. We have far more people than anybody. We have the most important. I tell people, Bill O'Reilly said the greatest single phenomena he's ever seen in politics. Us, all of us. All of us. You, all the people outside. Man, they had people lined up in the driveway all the way up. But this is one of the great movements in the history of our country. Our movement is much better than Bernie, but I'll tell you where Bernie blew it. He sold his soul to the devil. He did. He had a great thing. I was so surprised because he seemed like a tough guy. He was like tough. And then in the end, he folded. And I said yesterday, and it's true, he wanted to go home. He wanted to go to sleep. Okay? That's what it was. But you know, had he not folded, and his people haven't folded, because his people were angry. Now, just to show you how unfair it is, if that would have happened in the Republican convention, they would have said, catastrophic evening. People are screaming. Did you see when they had the moment of silence for the police? And by the way, the only reason the police were up on that stage on the fourth night was because I was complaining they don't have any police up there, right? They put the police up because they were getting a lot of heat. But they don't mean it. The difference is I mean it, okay? We're going to be law and order, and I mean it. We're going to be great. We're going to be great. But did you see what happened when they had the moment of silence for the police? Tough situation. Tough situation. Not good. Not good. And then you have Bernie, and he makes the deal. And then they pick a vice president that's exactly the opposite of Bernie, okay? He believes in TPP, which is a disaster, by the way. We'll never approve it. They'll approve it. How about where Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, comes out and said, don't worry, Hillary will approve it after the election. See, that's the way it is. And it will take your jobs away almost as bad as NAFTA, which was approved by Bill Clinton, right? NAFTA, a disaster. NAFTA has cleaned out so many states in this country. Look, New York State. You look at New York State. You look at New England. You look at Pennsylvania, what NAFTA has done to Pennsylvania, where these companies move to Mexico. A friend of mine is a builder. He builds plants. Plants. If you told him to build an apartment, he wouldn't know where to begin. He builds plants. Big plants. One of the biggest. And maybe I'll use him to build a wall. What a great idea. Got a lot of smart people. Somebody shouts out, let him build a wall. We will. We have smart people. But this guy builds big plants, you know, automobile plants and computer technology plants. And this is what he builds. He builds plants. One of the biggest, maybe the biggest, one of the biggest. And he started off building in the United States years ago. And he'd build plants in the United States. So I see him the other day and I say, how's it going? Good. How's business? Unbelievable. I said, great. I thought that was good for the United States, right? I said, how many plants you building? Many. He said, you've got to see what's happening in Mexico. Now, by the way, this guy's better than a consultant. If I hire a consultant, I'll hire some guy that, you know, that's terrible, to tell me what's happening, right? They'll charge you $1 million. He'll give you a report in 7 months from now. They have to take a long time, otherwise they can't charge as much, right? This guy tells me in 2 minutes. In 1 minute, I learn better about what's happening from him, talking to him about how's his business, than I can learn from some phony consultant. Because if he was any good, he would have been the one building the plants, right? You know. So An amazing thing. An amazing thing. So I said, so what's going on? He goes, you got to see Mexico. It's the eighth wonder of the world. He said, we are building the biggest, the most sophisticated, the most incredible plants all over Mexico. I said, what about the United States? Not so good. Like, who cares? And actually, he'd much rather build in the United States, but not so good. He said, not so good. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, we're doing a little work, but not much. But Donald, you have to see Mexico. I said, no thanks. But he goes, what we're doing there is incredible. How stupid are we, folks? How stupid are we? Our companies are moving to Mexico and other places while crooked Hillary Clinton, who's crooked as a $3 bill, while crooked Hillary Clinton sits there and makes up stories. Donald Trump didn't do well in his campaign. I said, I just beat 18 people or 17 people. What? Donald Trump. No, it was all written by, it's what? Politico. I can't believe I'm talking about Politico. Because Politico is terrible to me. But Politico wrote, all cliches, not good, okay? But somebody wrote it. She probably didn't notice it. But I'm being recognized for having done one of the most legendary campaigns in the history of politics in this country. And she puts in her thing right after the tweet. If somebody tweets, he gets upset. I get upset? I don't get upset. I don't get upset. Somebody wrote that. You know, it was a nice little soundbite, right? They just announced I have over 22 million between Twitter and Facebook. 22 million people. It's like, I don't get upset. If somebody tweets, I do what I do. Who cares? I'll tell you, I think I have the best temperament, or certainly one of the best temperaments, of anybody that's ever run for the office of president. Ever. Because I have a winning temperament, I know how to win. Because my whole life I've been winning. My whole life I've been winning. And I think I have one of the best temperament, because we have to start winning, folks. We don't win anymore. We can't beat ISIS. We can't beat China in trade. And then they go and build this massive fort in the middle of the South China Sea, which they're not supposed to be doing. They only do it because they don't respect us. So they take our money, they take our jobs, they take everything. They sell us the products, no tax, come on in. Our manufacturers want to sell to China. They can't get in. And if they ever do get in, they have to pay a tax that's so high. Or they have to build their plants over there. And they don't even want them to do that. Honestly. A friend of mine, Greg, they said, well, we don't want your product. And then they gave a tax rate, which I won't even say because it's so high, nobody's going to believe it. But then they said, build your plant over here, but we don't even want you to. They don't even want us there. Okay? They don't even want us to build. Now, Boeing, they ordered 300 jets, and they made Boeing build massive plants. And watch what happens in Seattle, and watch what happens in a number of years when those plants are built. Watch what happens in South Carolina, where I love those people in South Carolina. They gave me the biggest victory. Remember, I was supposed to lose? I was supposed to lose. Highly evangelical, but the evangelicals love me. Highly evangelical. I won with the evangelicals. Highly military. South Carolina, big military. Colorado, big military. Big military. Big. And I went in, and you watch what they do. South Carolina built big Boeing plants. They have a big, big plant. Beautiful. I love seeing it. I love seeing this stuff. They actually moved part of their operation from Seattle. Seattle, big plants. So they think it's good. New plants, everything good. Great people, great labor force. But China is forcing them to build plants in China. Now, when China devalues its currency, and when Boeing, in a number of years, just remember, I said it. Oh, don't worry. If I'm president, it won't happen. It won't happen. President. If I'm president, Boeing will be very happy, believe me. Because it won't. They may be unhappy that they built the plant in China, but they're not going to have to worry about South Carolina and Seattle. But remember I said it, just in case we don't make it because you people get lazy and don't vote, okay? Colorado is very important. Very important. So just remember I said it. When that plant's finished, when they start operating, and when China does a massive devaluation of its currency, And when you go and order your brand new jetliners for all of the different airlines, and when they find out that the planes are going to be made in China, not in South Carolina and not in Seattle, not in this country, because we have people that are incompetent running our country. When you see that, and I hope you don't see that, because if you see that, that means that I didn't win, and that won't be good. That won't be good. So here's the story, folks. When you see that, if you see that, it'll be a sad day. And I told the Boeing folks, I said to Boeing, I said, you know, you have a big investment. What happens if the plant that they're being forced to build in China becomes much more active and you start making all of your planes there? Oh, well, I don't think that will ever happen. Watch. Watch. We're dealing with grand masters of currency manipulation. One of the reasons, among many, that I'm against Trans-Pacific Partnership is they don't cover currency manipulation. And in fact, one of my opponents in politics fought very, very hard that no currency manipulation be mentioned in the documents. This is a U.S. politician. I won't mention the name. I should, but I won't. The people, you know what? Call Washington, they'll tell you. They didn't want currency manipulation mentioned. Currency manipulation is the single biggest tool that foreign governments use to beat us and to destroy our companies and to destroy our trade and to get rich and to rebuild their countries as we suffer. We're like a third world country. We have rotten airports. We have airports. You go over to Dubai. You go over to places in China. You go over to other places in the Middle East. You'll see airports the likes of which you've never seen. I went to Dubai a number of years ago, and they were treating me great. I mean, it was great. Great visit. Unbelievable what's happened there. But they have an airport that's so unbelievable. So the head of the airline is showing me around, and it's really good. And I'm looking at the terminal. I say, this is one of the most beautiful. And I'm good. I mean, I'm a really good builder. I build under budget and ahead of schedule. By the way, I had a meeting with your great newspaper, and I really liked the editorial board of that newspaper, okay? You know who I'm talking about. These are great people. And they would tell me there's a Veterans Administration hospital that had a $1.2 billion cost overrun in this area. No, think of that. Think of this. I'm building a hotel in Washington, and I'm under budget and ahead of schedule by 1 year. Think of it. And it's peanuts compared to $1.2 billion. What is this? That's just the cost overrun. And this is happening all over the country. When you build a road, when you build an airport, some of the richest people in this country are people that can't even read or write. They're called friends of mine, contractors. They might not read or write, but they're a lot smarter than the guys coming out of Harvard, I want to tell you. They can take them and wrap them around their finger. No, I did an editorial board meeting a little while ago. I really like that group. Of course, if they write badly about me, I'll take it back. Okay, we'll be back here again many times. You'll get so sick of me. And I'll tell you then, I dislike that group very much. No, I liked them. And smart people. But they were telling me about a hospital built in the area. You know, you all know what I'm talking about. $1.2 billion. I said, wow. I thought, I didn't hear the original when it cost overrun. I said, wow, that's a lot of money for a hospital. How big is it? They said, no, that's not the cost of that. That's just the cost overrun. Think of what we could do if we had real people running our government. Okay, there's one. There's $1.2 billion. And I have friends. We know how to build ahead of schedule. We build buildings. They come in under budget. They come in ahead. I have friends that can do this. If one of the people that I know, some New York killer builder or somebody, built that building, it would have been up 2 years ago. It would have been finished like a year after it started. It's not even a tall building. That's easy. But because it takes longer to build a tall. Height means length. Remember that, okay? But one of my friends, or me, the thing would have been thrown up so fast, and it would have been better than it is now. I'll tell you a little quick story. I got called before the United Nations. I heard they were building an extension to the United Nations in New York a number of years ago. And Jeff Sessions is such an amazing man. And he's great. He was the first senator to endorse Donald Trump. First really major political guy. He's a very smart guy. But I built a building across the street like for $320 million. And it's a very tall building, like around 90 stories tall. Okay, that's tall. Much taller than the United Nations. And then I built it for, I think it was $325 million. All right, condominium. It's called Trump World Tower. Great building. Beautiful. Really beautiful. All glass. It's beautiful. Herbert Muschamp of the New York Times, the architectural critic, prior to passing away, gave it a great review. So we built this building, and it's announced. And I get a call from, I think it was the Swedish ambassador, but one of the ambassadors, very good man. And he said, Mr. Trump, I'm with the United Nations. I'm the ambassador. Again, I think it was Sweden. It was a while ago. He said, I don't understand something. We're talking about doing an expansion of the United Nations. Not a big deal. And it's going to cost $1.5 billion. I read that your building, which is 3 times taller or more, costs $325 million. Is that possible, or is that a mistake? I said, totally possible, Mr. Ambassador. They said, why? He said to me, he was good. He was a good man, but he knew nothing about this business. He said, why is it that costs so much less than just a simple expansion of the United Nations building? I said 2 reasons. Corruption. Corruption is number one, always number one. Corruption, number one, and incompetence, number 2. Oh, it's true. 2 reasons. Very simple. So I then get a call, and I'm brought before the United States Senate to tell the people in the Senate, because, you know, we're funding the United Nations. That's another beauty. We fund NATO. We fund Japan. We fund Germany. We fund Saudi Arabia. We pay rent for our base in Saudi Arabia. Let's pay rent so we can protect them. We'll pay rent. They want more rent so we can protect them, right? So we fund Saudi Arabia. We fund South Korea. We have 28,000 soldiers on the line. We're real geniuses, I'll tell you. So I get called before the Senate, and they wanted to know. And I said, look, here's the story. I then go and I meet the head of the United Nations. I think it was Kofi Annan at that time. Kofi Annan. And we sit in these 2 chairs, and I'm talking to him. All of a sudden, the curtain opens up, and there was massive press taking our picture. That's all he wanted. He didn't care what the thing cost. And then the curtain closed. I said, okay. So it was at that time $1.5 billion. And they said to me, would you like to meet the man in charge of construction? I said, I would, because how can he spend that much money? He's going to teach me. There's no way. And this guy comes in who didn't know much, although he may have known much more than we all think, okay? So I said, what kind of steam are you using? Do you have a boiler plant, or are you using New York steam, which is a different form of energy? He goes, I don't know. I said, wait a minute. You're in charge of the new construction of the building. You don't know what kind of steam. You don't know what kind of a plant, an energy plant you're using. What are you doing on the curtain wall? Honestly, Mr. Trump, I said, are you emptying the building, or are you going to do it by floor? I don't know. This is the guy in charge, okay? So he was either really bad or really corrupt. So that was the end. So I offered to do it for, I think it was like $500 million. They said, and it was $1 billion. So I could save them like $1 billion. They said, but what will the difference be? I'll say, I'll tell you what the difference would be. Number one, it'll be a much higher quality. Number 2, we'll use marble instead of linoleum. And number 3, you don't have to move everybody out of the building and then come back 2 years later or whatever. And number 4, your number's not $1.5 billion. It's going to be many times that. I was right about everything. That was maybe 8, 9 years ago. The building cost a fortune. Somebody got so rich. We pay for so much of the United Nations. And by the way, here's another one. I talk about NATO. So 5 countries out of 28 pay their way. The rest of them, no. And the question was asked, if they're attacked If they're attacked, will the United States come to their rescue? Meaning one of the countries. I said, have they paid? They said, what a horrible question to ask. They go, this is Hillary Clinton. Don't you know that we have a treaty? Yeah, we do. And they have to pay. It's like two, right? We have to pay. So think of it. We protect them. We protect them. They're not protecting us. So we protect them against originally the Soviet Union, now Russia. So we protect them. And many of them aren't paying, or they're paying a fraction of what they're supposed to be paying. So all I say is, I'm fine with NATO. You got to make it more flexible for terrorism. Okay? Got to make it. Got to have people pay. So we're paying a fortune for NATO. And usually what the press does is they'll say, and I'm telling you these stories for a different reason. Because our country's broke. But we have so much fat out there. We can make our country so rich again. We can do things that are unbelievable. So unbelievable. These are just stories. These are just stories. So I was killed on NATO. I gave a great answer. What do you think of NATO? It's obsolete. I never, in all fairness, I am a business person building buildings and doing things all over the world, and I'm doing things and built a great company. I built a great company. But I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing. So I'm like, NATO was not high on my list. Does that make sense? It wasn't like, gee whiz, let me tell you everything about NATO. But I can learn. I'm a really fast learner. In like 10 minutes, I know a lot about NATO, right? But he asked me this question just off. I didn't know he was going to talk about NATO. What do you think about NATO? I said, it's obsolete, number one. Number two, it doesn't cover terrorism, which is true. And then we changed it, right, to cover terrorism. And number three, because I heard this, that many of the countries aren't paying or aren't carrying their weight. And everybody, the next day, they laughed. They said, he doesn't know foreign policy. Headlines, Trump wants to abandon NATO. I don't want to abandon NATO. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Actually, the New York Times was the only one that covered it correctly, which is hard to believe because they never cover anything correctly. But Trump wants to abandon NATO. Then we had Japan, where we pay more than 50% the cost of their defense. And we've got the maniac pretty close to him, North Korea. And we pay for South Korea. 28,000 soldiers on the line. We pay. And we pay for all these countries, right? And I'll never forget, I'm talking about Japan. I love Japan. Japan's great. It's a great country. They're great people. I have many friends in Japan. They buy my apartments all the time. They sell us cars. The cars come off like forget it. We send them wheat. It's fair trade. They get wheat. We get cars. Fair trade. Okay? It comes off like right? Like NASCAR. Brian France, the great Brian France of NASCAR. So they come off the boats, right? They're going 50 miles an hour, coming off. That's Japan. Plenty of money. So a general gets up to speak. And he said, Mr. Trump doesn't understand that Japan pays us 50% of the cost of their defense. 50%. He was so proud of that. So I get a call from one of the newspapers. Mr. Trump, general or colonel or whatever the hell he was, said that Japan is paying for 50%. They actually thought it was good. Do you have a comment? I said, yeah. Why aren't they paying for 100%? Why? Why? And remember, you have to be prepared to walk. You have to always be prepared to walk. NATO, too, with these countries. We're not going to fit. This isn't 40, 50 years ago. Okay? We end up in World War III over a country that nobody ever heard of that's attacked. Okay? Now, if they live up to their obligations, does that make sense? But some people say, that's a horrible thing to say because of the treaty. I'll tell you about Japan's treaty. So we have a treaty with Japan. If Japan is attacked, we have to go with our full force and might and protect Japan. If the United States is attacked, Japan doesn't have to lift a finger. They don't have to do. Who makes these deals? No, seriously. Who makes these deals? Okay? And we have so many. Folks, I could stand here all day and tell you stories that you wouldn't believe. But here's the story. I'm running against a crooked person. I'm running against a dishonest person. You know she's dishonest when she talks about, like, my campaign When these guys, as much as they can't stand me, say there's never been anything like this campaign, and she's saying about my campaign because somebody wrote it and she was too lazy to correct it. That's all. I mean, that's all. Look, we're running against a person that was just accused of being negligent and being other things and lying. Lying. How do you lie to the FBI? And I mean, the answer is she lied. How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? How does that happen? Right? You know what? I've been saying, let's just beat her on November 8th. But you know what? No. You know what? I'm starting to agree with you, I'll tell you. Tired of saying it. You know, it's interesting. Every time I mention her, everyone screams, lock her up. Lock her up, lock her up. They keep screaming. And you know what I do? I've been nice. But after watching that performance last night, such lies, I don't have to be so nice anymore. I'm taking the gloves off, right? Yes? Take the gloves off. Take the gloves. Right? Taking the gloves off. Just remember this. Trump is going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy. Tell Hillary I'm not going to be nice anymore. I've been very nice to her. So are you ready? Actually, some of the folks I defeated, they probably would say, boy, he was not very nice. Look, let me just tell you. She is a disaster. She talks now change, right? Oh, by the way, and you saw yesterday. So I've been talking, we got to renegotiate NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world, okay? You know, they've just emptied. So did you see what she said? I'm getting criticized. This is for months. And now, yesterday, she said, we have to start thinking about renegotiating our trade deal. She never said that. She never said that. She never said that. And by the way, she's never going to do it because she's controlled by the special interests. So I spent close to $60 million on my campaign. I put up my own money on the primaries. Now I'm spending a lot of money on this, but I'm also raising money. And by the way, for the small, it's going to the Republican Party and the RNC, Republican National Committee. Reince Priebus is doing a fantastic job. But I'm putting up a lot of money, too, for the general election. And last month, they said, Mr. Trump, would you put up $2 million as a match? I said, yeah, okay, fine. Turned out to be 3.8. I said, what the hell happened? I said, how much is it? I think it's 3.8. I don't even know what I don't care what it is because it doesn't matter to me. I just want to win. We got to win this election. But I'm putting up a lot of money for the general. We're raising, and I'll tell you the beautiful thing. We're raising money at $61, I think it averaged, in June. And we only started toward the middle of the month. In June, we raised $27 million in small donations. That doesn't happen to a Republican. So I don't know what number you call. Republican Party goes to the Republican Party, goes to the RNC. I don't know what number you call. Why should I know a thing like that? Find out and send them some money, will you please? Find out. But I'm putting up a lot of money, and we're doing great. And I see these ads that are running against me. They're vicious. They're vicious. And they're false. You know, the crazy ad with Megyn Kelly, where they say, blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of wherever. I was talking about her nose. Maybe her ears. But you know what I wanted to do? And does this make sense? What I wanted to do is I wanted to get back onto the question of taxes or economics. I said, whatever. And all of a sudden, whatever, because these are sick people. But really, it was nose. With the reporter, I spend so much money on working with the disabled and making my buildings accessible. Millions and millions of dollars. So they have me imitating a reporter because I said that people were dancing in the streets or dancing on the rooftops or something when the World Trade Center was knocked down, right? And a lot of people disputed that. Now, all over the world they were. A lot of people, a lot of reports, but pretty sad thing, right? You got the World Trade Center, thousands of people jumping out of that building and getting killed. And you have people that are happy about it, right? So I said, dancing, rooftop, street, whatever. And we couldn't find too much stuff confirming what I said. All of a sudden, somebody comes up with an article, okay? And the article is written by this guy who said he met me many, many years ago. And the article is a great article for me because it talked about dancing, all the things. So I said, here's an article. I think he was with the Washington Post when he wrote the article, something. Times, Washington Post, but whatever. And he wrote this article, and it was great. I said, here's the article. And it really shut a lot of people up. You know, it was really sort of pretty much on point. Not 100%, but pretty much on point. It was an article. But it was an article written by a major newspaper. And the author of the article was this guy. And they started calling him the press. You remember this whole thing? Does everybody remember? They started calling him. The press started calling him. And they're driving him, like, they're calling him a lot. And obviously, the other side of things started calling him also, saying, this article's not good, because this is sort of confirming what Trump is saying. They were dancing. They were happy that the World Trade Center was, this is not good. So all of a sudden, the guy, and I think by that time the article was almost 15 years old, he starts changing the article, that he made a mistake. He this, he that. I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know that he was disabled. I didn't know it. I didn't know it at all. I had no idea. So I started imitating somebody. I didn't speak to the guy. Somebody that was groveling. Everybody know what grovel is? Grovel is when you do, I won't do the act because they'll do a whole big thing. I won't. But at the time, I did the act. I did the whole thing with groveling. And I said, he's groveling. He said, no, the article, I was wrong on the article. And I was doing a whole big number, right? I was wrong. I promise you, I made a mistake when I wrote the article. He was groveling, grovel, right? That was the end of it. All of a sudden, I get reports that I was imitating a reporter that was handicapped. I would never do that. I would never do that. It's not in my vocabulary. And I spend millions of dollars. It's crooked media. I spend millions. So now, and I figured that was fine because I would never do that. But then the guy that wrote the article, who, by the way, changed the article, he said he made a mistake and all this stuff, right? Grovel. He said, but Donald Trump knows me. Oh, really? I know. He met me when I was with, I won't even mention the name of the newspaper, one of the worst papers in the world. He was with a different paper. It's going out of business very soon anyway. It's so good. But let me tell you, he met me when I was with another newspaper. I think he said in 1988. Okay? So now we're talking about, it was, I guess, 2016. We're talking 2015, whenever this took place, 2015. So I met him many years ago. And I met him more than once, he said. You know how many reporters I meet? I meet guys, look at those guys. I meet so many reporters. I meet them, to quote somebody, they're coming out of my ears, okay? I meet so many reporters. So they do a commercial, Crooked Hillary, and she knew that story. So they do the commercial like I'm mocking a person with disability. I'm not. And by the way, I certainly didn't. I have a very good memory. I don't remember this guy. I don't remember reporters that, I see them on the phones. I see them all over the place. They're all over the place. Reporters. But I'm supposed to remember some guy. Listen to this. I'm supposed to remember some guy from 1988. So here's the story. So they do a commercial, Hillary. Do you see, with the beautiful little children watching? As I'm supposedly mocking a person with disabilities. And I spend millions a year or millions of dollars on ramps and get rid of the stairs and different kinds of elevators all over. And I'm going to mock. I would never do that. Number one, I have a good heart. Number two, I'm a smart person. Okay? And crooked Hillary Clinton, and crooked, dishonest Hillary Clinton, and she knows that. And crooked Hillary Clinton puts that up and talks about anybody that would mock the disabled. I didn't mock the disabled, number one. Number two, with Megyn, all I did was I wanted to get back on subject. I said, because I wouldn't say she exactly likes me. Do we agree? So I said, there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out. And then I said, I just want to get back on subject. Let's go back and talk about taxes. So I said, oh, wherever. So they said, because they're deviants, they said that blood coming out of her. And now they do a commercial. It's really sad. They know it's not true. They do it anyway. I had in mind nose, but it could have even been ears. I didn't think of the other alternative. I didn't think. So, you know, it's the first time I've really told that story to those two stories to a group. Did you enjoy that? This is not Office Speak. Did you enjoy it? Okay. So just to finish up, look, our country, and these are sort of great stories because they tell you about how dishonest it is out there. They tell you about the incompetence, like a fire marshal not allowing those people that are in a room to come into this room where we have a little. It just tells you, it's a disgusting thing, but it tells you about honesty. It tells you about common sense. It tells you that our country has a great future. Think if we were in the hole as deep as we are and everything was running perfectly, right? I always like to buy a business that's in terrible shape. Because if you buy a business that's in great shape, you have nothing to do. You can't cut. We have so many things we can do. So our country doesn't win anymore. But we're going to start winning again, folks. Okay? We're going to start winning. We're going to stop the Syrian migrants from coming into the United States. We don't know where they come from. We don't know who they are. And you look all over the world. You look at Paris. You look at what just happened with the priest, a beloved priest. You look at what's going on all over the world. We know nothing about them. We'll build safe zones. I'll get the Saudis and the Gulf states to build safe zones. We will run it, but they'll put up the money. They got plenty of money. Other people's money. You ever hear the OPM? Other people's money. And we're going to be so smart. We're going to be the smart people. If Hillary Clinton gets in, it's going to be 4 more years of Obama, and nobody wants 4 more years of Obama. Nobody. We'll be weak on ISIS. We'll be weak on the borders. We'll be weak on our military. We're going to rebuild that military, folks. We're going to get it. We're not going to be using old aircraft. So, I just want to tell you that I'm going to be in Colorado a lot. Because there's no way we shouldn't win this state. These are great people, heavy military, tremendous respect for their police and law and order. That's me. At the same time, we want to treat everybody fairly. I mean, when things happen, we want to make sure everybody does a great job. We want to make sure people, but we want law and order. We want great military. We want our vets to be so happy. These are our great people. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to spend time with you. And you're going to say, oh, this guy's back again? He's driving us crazy. Mr. Trump, on November 8th, we promise we're going to vote for you. Please, but give us a break. You've been here enough. You've been here enough. Mr. Trump, please, you've been here enough, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Now, because of your fire marshal, who I am not a fan of, he's probably a Democrat, probably a guy that doesn't get it. I'm going to go into the other room and say hello to people that didn't get your location, okay? All right? Thank you, everybody. I love you. I love Colorado. Now, look, November 8th, go out and vote. Thank you. Thank you.